But one of the most difficult things for people to overcome is to ask for help. We tend to think that we have to be completely self-sufficient. We have to do everything ourselves, and we have to do it better than anybody else all by ourselves. And that's just not how the world works.
But that's how we were raised, or that's our
Oh,
survival, right?
well, that's the good old American value of self-sufficiency. We're supposed to do it on our own. The thing is, the world has become so complex now
Hmm.
that it's very, very difficult to do anything as a lone wolf. It's really being able to work within groups, to be able to pick people who work together well. Each one brings what they do well to the mix. Now, that's how things are done now. Uh,
Right.
so, I mean, if you're in business school or something like that, it's one group project after another because they realize that the ability to work in a group is as important, if not more so, than the idea itself.
I agree with you fully on there. But the one thing I'm like, the thing is, I can work on teams. I do well on teams. But when I got into, well, even the university, the college years, and into my career, since I worked differently and I didn't do things normal, um, I had to work on my own. For me to overcome, become a perfectionist because I was never meeting the standards, I had to work extra hard. And I seem to have gotten into a habit of having to work on myself. That's the only way it can be done. So it came from, with evolution to the point where I'm only going to work alone. And then now it's hard to ask for help if
Mhm.
I've trained myself subconsciously or consciously to be a lone wolf.
I would present that to you in a slightly different way.
Okay.
It would be something of the nature of um, go back to the implementer finisher partner,
Right.
emphasis on the word partner, where you and the other person or persons recognize that alone you wouldn't get anywhere. Um, the example I give is of a guy who came to me several years ago. He was a sculptor, and he would get a commission. He would get to within a day and a couple of hours of finishing the sculpture, and he could see in his mind's eye how it was going to come out. It was done in his mind, and he
Mm-hmm.
couldn't finish these sculptures. And so he had the county sheriff there saying, "Look, my folks, either people said we either want our sculpture or we want our money back." Well, he couldn't do that because he'd already spent the money. So, and he thought he was going to jail. And I said, "Well, look, let's just get the heat off. You're bound to know who the other sculptors are in this area. You're bound to know somebody who's technically a good sculptor but doesn't have a creative bone in his body. Hire him or whatever, be a partner with him.
Mm-hmm.
Have him finish the sculptures and get the heat off." And now these two guys are partners. He gets the commission. He does everything but the last 3 or 4 hours. This guy steps in, finishes them, makes the best shipping crates in the business, does all the business, keeps the books and stuff like that. And they split the money right down the middle because each of them realizes that without the other person, they'd starve.
Mm-hmm.
They each of them brought what the other person didn't have. And so they made great partners. As employees, not so much. Partners, great. And so it was that ability to recognize what I need in a partner. What are the things that I don't do well that this person does? And what are the things I do well that he doesn't do well? And so together, we're an unbeatable pair.
Yeah.
Separate, we're going to starve. And so it's more recognizing what you need. I know when most people have to do group projects in graduate school or something like that, the most important decision you made was who's going to be in the group, because otherwise you end up with somebody who does nothing,
Yeah.
somebody who does it all, and yet it just becomes a very unpleasant dynamic all around. So it's knowing what to look for in the person who's helping you and you're helping them. It becomes
Yeah.
mutual. So you don't have to worry about being deficient in some way.
Yeah. I remember as a kid, growing up and then also starting my own companies, it was the mantra that you're the entrepreneur, especially a startup. If you start up on your own, you get into this, we end up doing everything. Then we feel that we can do everything. And the only way to be seen as a quote unquote, seen as a successful entrepreneur is if you're able to do it. Because everyone was bragging that, right? Extra hours, long hours, I do everything.
I'm a self-made man.
Yeah. But yeah, it is true. It's a lot better if you stay within your wheelhouse. Like for me, I'm really good at creating the problem solving, creating a solution, but executing the solution to the final detail. I never liked even on the engineering side.
Yeah.
So that's why I had
So-
teams, drafters, and all that to do.
yeah.
So
So again, it's that ability to say, I need help with this because this is something, one, I don't do well, but two, even if I did, I don't like it. It's boring. It's, I've already done the fun part. I've already done the
right.
creative part. I'm going to hand it off to somebody who enjoys doing this stuff.
And that's
And
true.
and together we're unbeatable.
Yeah. And we just got to get over the ego. Sometimes, a lot of times, I think for entrepreneurs, the egos get in the way. I must do it all, seen as the one that's doing it all. But in the end, like my assistant, she loves to do what I consider the boring, mundane stuff. But she has a smile on her face. So I give her, she loves that stuff. Go for it. Have a nice day.
Thank God that there are accountants.
Yeah.
You know,
Who can do taxes too?
or I outsource them. So it's because my time is much better spent doing the things I'm good at and that I enjoy.
Yeah. So what would you say? Okay, I'm walking into your office. I do everything. I can't rely on anyone. What would be a quick statement to make me start to think that I'm not full of myself, but I got to start rethinking how I'm doing things.
Well, a one-man band sounds just as good as as you think it would sound. Um, yeah, trying to do everything yourself is going to hold you back from growth. You're already filled to capacity.
Right.
So if you want to take this to something that somebody may want to buy or something like that, you're going to need people to do, aspects of the project
Yeah.
that they'll do better than anybody else. And that's the analysis that you do up front. What sorts of skills and personalities do I need in order to make this a success?
Yeah. Yeah, because in a way, like you said there, you don't have time anymore. And my business coach Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach also says an overbooked entrepreneur cannot grow. So
Yeah.
we need the time, and the only way to do that is by delegating out or hiring people or getting partners to do the stuff that you're not good at and you don't want to.
Yeah.
So cool. Again, multiple things I just learned. So thanks again for your time.